Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. My conviction has never been higher that the best days for us, all of us XRP holders, they're ahead of us. In fact, did you know that altcoin compression is at a record high? Indeed, it is. And I'll explain just why that's extremely significant in this video, and a very, very good source for optimism. I'm also going to share perspective from maybe close to 10 different XRP chart analysts, commentary and analysis. And there's just this, the more time passes, the more analysts I see agreeing that, yeah, this thing's going to have to break to the upside sooner than later. And increasingly, I'm seeing analysts say it's probably actually going to happen this summer, which is significant because most summers are boring. But as I've been highlighting over the last few weeks, in the fourth year of a bull cycle, which is what we're in now, for each of the last couple cycles, summers haven't been boring. There's been a lot of activity and upward price momentum. So if history rhymes with itself, well, we're in store for something sooner rather than later. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. As I record this video, it is 7:07 p.m. Central Time, Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. XRP is $2.18, and Bitcoin's at $107,411, so mostly just trading sideways over the last 24 hours, but that's okay. Just wait till this bad boy breaks. And so I came across this post from Crypto Insight UK, and he was highlighting an interview that he had with Credible Crypto from December 5th, 2024. So this is about a month and a half before XRP finally hit a new all-time high after 7 years, a little over 7 years. And it's just so fascinating the degree to which Credible Crypto's expectations for what would happen with XRP this cycle have come to pass. I honestly, personally believe he's one of the best in the space. And it was really exciting to see Crypto Insight UK and Credible Crypto have this conversation. I think they're both fantastic. And I shared some of what they had to say at the time, but check this out. So Crypto Insight UK shared this video again and said, guys, have a refresher of this. Credible Crypto gave us a full breakdown of targets for XRP after this consolidation, which I think is very nearly done. This is what happens next. And what's he referencing? Well, let me tell you part of what happens next, because Credible Crypto this afternoon reposted that and said, if you haven't watched this yet and you're an XRP holder or a prospective holder, you seriously need to watch this. My higher time frame thesis on XRP from a technical analysis perspective that explains the $20 to $30 cycle end targets I've been speaking of for years. So I will just note, he's been right so far, and even here we are, a half year later roughly, and he is insisting that what is most probable is XRP not just hitting low double digits, but into $20 to $30 here. So I just wanted to mention this to note that from one of the best in the space, his conviction is not wavering. Here's a post from the blockchain backer. He says, a long journey to get here, but here we are. And on the right, you can see Bitcoin price action from 2020. In fact, this is March right here, where it got this low down here, close to about $3,600. That was the flash crash with the pandemic scaring the hell out of everybody. Which, by the way, if you were there back then, you know it was the end of the world. There's no way that things are going to bounce back, except for they absolutely did. I mean, Bitcoin went on a rampage from there. Alt season, the whole 9 yards, of course. But there's always some narrative that means it's the end of the world. What do you mean? Don't you understand what's happening on a macro scale? It's not happening. There's geopolitical tensions, bro. Yeah, except for that all falls apart. And so here we had this post, again, and this was from this morning from the blockchain backer, just saying, hey, it took a long time, but we got here. And he's highlighting that what's playing out now structurally quite similar to actually what played out then. And you can see he's talking about this ABC structure right here, and he's been talking about that, how he thought that was going to be playing out for months. Now, this, again, like I said, this is a post from today, right? He's highlighting the similarities. Here's a post from him, February 28th, highlighting this. And you didn't know for sure if it was going to play out and if he'd end up looking pretty good, but he did. It did play out. That was a post from February 28th, comparing it to the same time period. Now, this is actually even more interesting. So, two more posts from the blockchain backer here. The bottom one I shared yesterday, it's from yesterday, in fact. And he said, Coinbase versus altcoin market, you are not bullish bullish enough. And so, in this case, he took the total 3 chart, which is the top 125 coins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So, it's just everything else within that category. And that's what this, what do you call it? Pinkish, maybe purplish, magenta looking line, whatever that is. That's overlaid right on top of the stock price of Coinbase, cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase. And what you can see here is that this is so fascinating. But what's happening is Total 3 is just it's doing the same thing that Coinbase is doing, but there's a little bit of a lag. So it's almost like, I mean, if it keeps playing out like this, it's kind of like you can a little bit see into the future. And look what just happened over the last week leading up to this point. Coinbase just popped. So if we're going to see a continuation here of Total 3 following, which does include XRP, by the way, then it's in short order, it's going to start ripping to the upside too, right? And so he shared that yesterday, but he reposted that this morning, and he shared this. Now this chart, instead of Total 3, it's Total 2, so it's the top 125 coins. It's only excluding Bitcoin. It does include Ethereum. The other one did not include Ethereum. But he's got Total 2, and that's what this purplish line is here, on top of the stock price of Coinbase, again here. And he noted this morning, Coinbase is taking out the December highs. You're still not bullish enough on your altcoins. And I can't argue with that, man. Look, going back to the end of 2023, the correlation is so obviously there. So I'm going to be paying more attention to this. And it makes sense that it's probably not on most people's radar. I'm glad that he brought this up. He's the first person that I've seen highlight this. I mean, I've seen people talk about Coinbase here and there, but in this context, in terms of it leading what happens with alts, so on and so forth, not so much. But it does kind of make sense because it hasn't been that long that Coinbase has even been a publicly traded company. So it probably wouldn't be on people's radars necessarily, but it'd be interesting to see if this type of behavior persists. I don't see any reason it would break down right here, right in the second. You know who else noticed it? Was a chart analyst, Crypto Wizard. He shared the same information here. So he's got Total 2 slapped down right on top of the stock price of Coinbase. Coinbase is the blue one in this particular chart. And he said, don't fight it. Coinbase continues to explode. Notice what always happens with alts. The pump is inevitable. So he's just highlighting there's a correlation. Altcoins lag behind what happens with Coinbase. And then once it plays catch up, though, folks, it's going to be insane. Oh, man. I think we're in store for a good time. And there's this from chart analyst TechDev. He shared this with his 532,000 followers on X. And this is the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, so it's Total 2. And he says, altcoin compression is at a record high. Expansion will be unlike anything the market has seen. Now, he very well may be correct about this, and I will not be surprised if so, for so many reasons. There are tons of metrics we're looking at that indicate what's going to be happening here. M2 is one that I've been talking about, Global M2, though I'm not going to focus on it in this video. But look at this. You see what he's highlighting here? These are Bollinger Bands, my friends. Look at how tight they are. And then you can look at the previous cycle in 2020, going into 2021. Look at how tight they were, and then they expanded, and the market just went ballistic. They're tighter than that. They're the tightest in history. And this particular metric, although it doesn't tell you, whether there's going to be a big burst to the upside or the downside, it does tell you something's going to happen. That is literally what Bollinger Bands do. And given that we're in a bull market, my bet is that we move to the upside. Everything's going to go. XRP is included in this chart. Now, lest ye think that this not be an important metric, oh, it is. Oh, yes, indeed it is. Look at this post from April 16th of last year, 2024, XRP USD here. It's from Charting Guy, and he said XRP monthly Bollinger Bands are now the tightest they've ever been in history. 0.7 for the width. The tightest it got before this was 0.73 in 2017, 1 month before. Then he's got the little rocket ship emoji. And then he sarcastically says, probably nothing because it's obviously something. And you can see it. Look, and again, April, it's over a year ago. April of last year, look at how they were the tightest in history. See how tight they got in the last cycle? Even while the SEC was attacking XRP? Still got tight? and still indicated something was going to happen. We were in a bull market, so it moved up. Look at 2017. At that point, tightest in history. Bam. Broke to the up. Price absolutely ripped to the upside, obviously, in the first half of 2017. And by the way, this consolidated for like half of a year after this, roughly. But it was true. Like, once we got to that point, it was just a matter of time. It was very clear it was going to break, and when it broke, XRP absolutely broke big. XRP is the top performing coin out of the top 100 coins by market cap since the election. So the metric matters. And what's interesting too, by the way, it's gotten tight again. XRP Bollinger Bands also. I don't have a chart pulled up for the purposes of this video, but I'll just mention it since we're talking about it. Oh, they're tight again. They expanded, and they are tight yet again. Not surprising, XRP's been consolidating for like half a year roughly at this point after hitting a new all-time high, getting up to $3.40. So when TechDev says altcoin compression is at a record high, expansion will be unlike anything the market has seen, please take him seriously. Things are going to go absolutely berserk here. Here's a post from chart analyst Casey Trades, XRP USD chart. She says this trend line is everything right now. I've been tracking this trend line support as the key level to hold, and we just got a clean reaction off it. This correction already reached the .382 retracement at $2.14, which also happens to be the apex of consolidation. That's the most critical level on the chart, short term. To me, breaking below that level would signal weakness. For now, we're holding above it beautifully. This is the kind of price action you want to see if XRP is serious about continuing this new trend to the upside. Price is now trying to push back towards the $2.25 resistance. That's the next big test. If we can flip that level, we'll likely open the path toward the $2.69 retrace test, and from there, the breakout potential increases dramatically. I'll say it again. XRP is still holding above the consolidation. That's a very bullish sign, especially paired with an impulsive-looking structure off the low. Let's see if this trend line bounces. Let's see if this trend line bounce gives enough fuel to break through resistance and confirm what could be the true Wave 3 ignition. And so, folks, we are living in that moment where any day you could wake up and it could just be going. This is a very exciting time to be in crypto. So even if we have to move sideways a little bit longer, that's actually quite normal. Even if there's a day where we move down a little bit, it doesn't matter. Everything is so perfectly queued up. It's just the idea of us not ripping to the upside is just unfathomable so far as I'm concerned. Here's a post from chart analyst Peppa. XRP 44-day bull flag coming to an end, and he's not the only one that's been talking about this. And lots of chart analysts have been articulating reasons why they believe XRP is just absolutely poised to burst. And you can argue about what the timeline is going to be, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, whatever. But it increasingly, it seems like just about every chart analyst that looks at XRP thinks, yeah, this bad boy is going to go. That's increasingly what I'm seeing. And when the chart analysts that I follow have the same or similar opinion about anything, they're almost always right. That's why this is exciting. Here's a post from chart analyst Dark Defender noting in the short term, XRP is probably going to pop at least a little bit, getting up closer to $2.30. A bit of optimism there. It's above one of the key levels that he's been talking about. Here's a post from chart analyst Cryptolica. He's talking about XRP and says, show must go on. And ignore the time frame here. That doesn't matter. He's just squiggling to show in the short term where he thinks this thing's going to go. He's pointing at, not that it would peak here, but he's talking about XRP at $6. He's been talking, as if you're wondering, how high might this thing go. He does think we're probably going to hit at least $10. He's been so vocal about that in recent months, but he's just clearly indicating in the short term here, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Not going to be up perfectly in a straight line. Going to $6. Here's a post from chart analyst Leb Crypto, XRP price chart here, and he says there's a lot of fear. That's one reason, among other technical reasons, why I think Bitcoin is ready for new all-time highs this summer and XRP back to $3.40. Yep, I'll not be surprised if that's the case. And he said this summer. Oh, and by the way, you know what? The blockchain backer, he was talking about this today or yesterday. He does believe that there's a very good chance, actually, we are going to be seeing the market rip to the upside this summer. So Increasingly, I'm seeing reputable chart analysts acknowledge, yeah, actually it's poised, and they'll give you their reasons as to why, what they see in the charts, including what happens from a historical perspective. But even the blockchain backer, he was looking at this and was like, yeah, there's a good chance that we're going to be moving, even if it's not the very first part of summer. You know, I think he said something like maybe even if it's the second half of summer. That's very soon, folks. Don't forget that summer's only 3 months, okay? The whole thing is 3 months, so not far off. And if indeed this is going to take off, that would make sense. That would be within historical norms. Here's a post from chart analyst Steph is Crypto. He says, massive XRP breakout incoming. So he's maintaining his conviction that is indeed the case. Tons of analysts have shared similar posts indicating, look, XRP within a particular symmetrical triangle, getting close to the apex, it's going to break before that. Conviction, still very strong. I keep seeing that. Here's a post from chart analyst X-Force Global, indicating he thinks XRP is going to be peaking closer to like 27 bucks roughly. So I don't know if it's going to get that high. I don't think it's crazy though. If you have like a just ridiculous amount of money flow into the crypto space, yeah, well, you could see XRP ridiculously overheat, you know? And I would love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. So look, there's never been a better time in my estimation to be an XRP holder. Like something's going to happen and it's going to be good. It won't be perfectly up in a straight line, but my God, we really are at that moment where the life-changing wealth is at hand. The actual moon mission, XRP landing safely on the moon, finally at hand after all of these years and everything our community's been through. It'll have been worth it. Long battle, quite arduous, but it'll have been worth it. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.